We're back. It is the next morning and we are going to be tackling radiator number 2, which of course is buried under piles and piles and oodles of tools. So we are clearing that out and then we'll get to work on that, and I will keep you updated if anything noteworthy happens. But until then, let's just roll the music. Step 1, clearing a bit of space in our insane tool storage setup. This has definitely gotten wildly out of control and we will be wrangling this back into shape soon, but not today. Step 2, cutting the pipes that we want to reroute. I'm wet.
Seems I forgot a step there. Okay. Sorry.
With the water now safely shut off, the second pipe went much smoother.
Oops.
Well, folks, may I present to you today's first can of worms. Ah, yes, a good old can of worms, an absolute staple of old home renovation and a perfect opportunity for content. But regardless of how this shakes out, I'm not going to be sweating it thanks in part to today's sponsor, Wild. Now, around here, as you know, we are always fans of products that allow us to reduce or eliminate our reliance on single-use plastics, and Wild is on a mission to do just that with their refillable body care products. So, for example, this is their deodorant. It comes in this high quality metal reusable case, and then you get these, which are their plastic free refills. So these are certified vegan, they are aluminum free, which is always something I check for in my deodorants, and they don't contain any parabens. They've currently got 14 different scents, and many of them also come in their bicarbonate free formula if you have sensitive skin. And to use it, it's super simple. First, you're going to choose your case. They've got several different aesthetics to choose from. I went with this kind of timeless, simple seafoam green, but yeah, they do have different options if you want something a little more fun or snazzy. And then you're gonna just open the case, you pop a refill in position, you put the bottom back on, and you're ready to go for up to 24 hours of freshness. It's such a genius idea. Like, why do we need a new plastic tube every time we want a deodorant or a lip balm or a body wash? Like, it's just so silly. So if you would like to rethink our throwaway culture and make the switch to Wild, you can click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Use my code Shannon2025 for 20% off all products for a limited time only. Now let's go see about that can of worms. Surprisingly easy. This one's already pretty loose. Originally, our plan was just to cut a small hole in the pine boards in order to pass the pipes. But once we saw what was back there, we realized it wasn't going to be that easy, and that we might as well just remove all of the pine boards and take the opportunity to do some winterizing while we were at it. Now, you know my MO is always to save and reuse as many materials as possible, not only because many of them are original to the house and I cherish that history, but also because it's just like a core belief of mine. It's better for the planet, it's better for the wallet. And the only thing it's not better for is your budget of time and patience. But that's a trade-off that in my situation, I'm happy to make. That's destroying the tiny groove, just for the record.
The running board box is still there.
Yeah.
Ça va nous faire des belles planches de bois, ça sera plus du temps. Parce que le seul moyen, ça serait...
To have a tiny bit of patience.
On peut essayer si tu veux. Si on enlève ces clous-là, on va être capable de la sortir. Mais faut enlever ces clous-là. So much cold air coming here. It's crazy.
Oh, cold air. Well, folks, may I present to you today's first can of worms. Say hello to a whole lot of old plaster and lath. Kind of fun, you can actually see the old ironing box right here, which matches the one on the other side, which we had suspected this was always like a matching ironing situation going on, that they just turned into some shelves. I think the shelves are really cute. Yeah, so we decided that we're actually going to open this whole wall up, because if you could feel right here, my hand, there is a current of cold air that is just rushing up out of the ground, because this is completely open down there. If I look down in this cavity, I will see the dirt foundation of our crawl space. So we were originally planning on capping this off by crawling under the house, but then after we opened up that little corner there to pass the pipes, kind of realized it might actually be a whole lot easier and quicker and more comfortable to do that from the inside. So taking all of this old plaster and lath off and gonna properly insulate this wall. It is an interior wall. We mostly are just insulating the bottom portion of it, because like I said, there is like a current of cold air that I'm just being slapped with as I talk to you. So that's where we're at. And for a second perspective on the matter, let's stick Phil directly under our feet in the crawl space under the house that I have previously investigated in some detail in prior episodes, but that he has yet to explore.
I'm looking towards the neighbor Tim, and both corners you can see light a little bit if you want to seal that up for the critters and stuff, but yeah. So the walls are completely empty. No blown in. There's a diagonal brace there, right there. So that might explain why these two didn't get any. And like the 4 first bays have none or very little insulation at this level anyway. So this is a 2 vent stack. One is clearly abandoned and very badly damaged. The other one seems to be okay. It's connecting to plastic and then becoming cast iron later on, a bit higher, and has a boot there. But I think that this humidity coming from the abandoned pipe created quite a bit of problem here. So this is the stack where the washer outlet is. This is insulation that I put from inside. And all the structure here is really bad. There should be a joist here passing through, but there isn't. And that's why all of this here collapsed. I don't know if you can see, but all of that here is kind of collapsing. And that's where the 3 uprights are that makes the kitchen that sinky and the upstairs bathroom sinky. So this needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. There is a bit of a structure on top when they built the box for the washer. That helps for sure. But yeah, this should kind of be all open and revisited. Because as it is, we can't really jack anything up. So probably remove the washer and deal with that properly. Open up everything and probably remove that broken stack and cap it somehow. Because it's smelling a bit like sewer here. I'm guessing that there's some backdrafts coming from here. And that's probably why this is so rotted too. Just that backdraft sewer, humid, poopy air that keeps feeding this here. For sure it doesn't help with the smell either. And next to it here, you can see the old sill plate that got changed. Another chunk here. There's some blown in here. Let's see how it is inside. Yeah, it's quite far up. And it connects between bays too. So yeah, probably better to open from the outside, and we'll be able to deal with a bunch of that. The rest of the LED, wow, LAED, the rest of the lead pipe just got freed here.
And now, please enjoy some boy math in action, as well as some other shots that maybe would have been better suited to the episode I released on Halloween.
Duck bone, maybe. Or murder. So on the left is the fireplace chimney stack support, and then the brick starts a bit higher. And on the right is the middle beam support stones. They're only holding there because there's weight on them.
I've spoken before about how I want to keep as many original features of the house as possible, and I do really like the original plaster and lath, but the kitchens and the bathrooms above them have seen so much work before I bought the house that there are hardly any original features left. So in this case, I actually don't feel even a tiny bit of guilt removing what's left of the sad crumbling plaster and the flaking paint. Also, I do really like this ironing board turned cubby. I am thinking of keeping it in some form in the new kitchen, so let me know down below if you have other genius ideas for repurposing what is, at this point, a vestige of bygone days. Look how big that tree is.
Huh.
Alright, so plaster's all cleaned up. Looks pretty good. If we go down there, that's a portal to our basement on that side, and the great outdoors just down there. Yeah, there we go. So, basement, outdoors. And that is why we are sitting here freezing our butts off. Yeah. Well, I don't call it a can of worms for nothing, because once we've opened up the wall and thought about it, we realized that now would also be actually the perfect time to solve another problem that we knew we wanted to deal with, but just didn't think it would be this soon. So I'm going to try to explain it. It's a little bit convoluted, but basically the very edges of the floor in this room here are all sinking down at the very edge of the room on this side. And we weren't entirely sure why. We were wondering if that was maybe because of that brick facade veneer beauty coat of foundation that had been causing similar issues around the perimeters of certain walls because the stone foundation settled but the brick didn't, and so it was forcing this weird hump in the floor. But then we realized actually what was happening here is that the floor joist in this room is not going all the way, like the outermost floor joist does not go to the edge of the floor. It stops a few inches short. So the floor is really good and level up till that last floor joist. And after that, it just kind of pretty sharply goes burp and drops off because it's completely unsupported. But if you look in the cavity here, you can see now we have access to it. Like this is the area of that floor that is unsupported. You can see the floor joist, you can see there's nothing under it. So now that we have this section of the wall all opened up here, it is actually the perfect time to insert some wood and jack it back up so that the floor doesn't do that sharp dip thing. But of course it just means like another detour. It was never going to be as simple as, oh, open up the wall, cap it off, and put insulation in, and then run the piping. No. Many detours. But then we might have a level floor. Editing Shannon, jumping in here to narrate for you, because what I have been left with on the other end of this saga is a few hours of footage of us working through all the various ways we could come up with on how to tackle this problem, which of course is not only a tricky problem to solve, but also a really hard one to film clearly and in a way that would be interesting and engaging to you, the viewer.
Can you keep it coming? Yeah. Yeah, it's still way too tall. No, not way too tall, but...
How much?
Looked like at least a full millimeter.
Now, old houses are known for their off-kilter charm and their crooked floors, and I'll be honest, this sagging floor never really bothered me that much. I don't even know if I actually noticed this particular part of the floor until Phil pointed it out. I grew up in an old house, which honestly that house had pretty level floors for its age, but still, I never expected this house to have perfect floors. But nevertheless, it did feel like we were being presented with the perfect opportunity to try and improve the situation, and despite perhaps our best judgment and our limited time frame before we had to leave again on contract, we decided to try and address the problem, and I'll be honest, we didn't fully succeed.
So, it's a better fit, but it seems to be hitting some friction right there. I don't know if it's worth giving it a little tap, but I think because it still has about 2.5 feet to go, it might be too much friction.
It came down to just a question of access. If we wanted to correct the sag in the floor, we would need to find a way to jack up that end portion of the floor and then find a way to permanently support it there. But we didn't actually have any access to do so properly.
Oh, it's going to be a little bit hard there, though.
We tried a few different tactics, but there just wasn't room. Like, that's what it came down to. It's a very tiny space to begin with. It's both very narrow in depth and very short in height. A bottle jack didn't fit in there. Not to mention that even if it had, look, we barely had access to it even from the sides. Or rather, not even sides, plural. One side, singular. There was one tiny access point in the basement where we could slide wood in to try and support the floor, but that was it.
What do you think? Do we shim in between?
Yeah, because then you close the sill plate, you keep the gap closed between the sill and the joist into the basement, and you have constant contact on the top. Is it good smells? Huh? Is it good smells? Yeah, what is that? You smell the outside? Don't you smell the outside?
And then on top of all of that, as it was happening, like this whole situation was just so convoluted that I was filming it with a healthy dose of skepticism about whether this footage would ever even see the light of day because it was just so boring and obscured and hard to explain, and the solution, like the problem didn't even seem like it was going to be resolved.
Very floppy.
Make noise.
So in the end, what we settled for was supporting the floor where it currently was so that it couldn't sag any further, at least, but we didn't really correct it to be any more level than when we started tackling this whole situation. So it wasn't a total win, but it wasn't a total loss, and it was an interesting learning process and a curious way to spend a few hours of our day. Kenna, come in. Do you want some puppy food? With the first side quest resolved, we could move on to the main focus of the day, replumbing that radiator. And once again, through no fault of our own, things weren't going quite as smoothly as we would hope.
That's gonna be a terrible cut. And this copper is really thin compared to like the other things we bought. They're really cheap out on the copper on this. How does it look?
Like a hole. Ta-ta! Hello! Come here, Leo. Salut. Adieu, Leo. On se met plumbing corgi. Where's the plumbing corgi? C'est-tu 4 heures? C'est-tu...
Is it in?
Yep. It is in. Nice. Let there be heat tonight. You ain't going anywhere. A look at the forecast. Wow, the light. Every time I come outside. Not gonna work.